ஓகே கைஸ், வெல்கம். இன்றைக்கி என்ன ஐடியானா, ஒன் பீஸ் பற்றி உங்களுக்கு எல்லாம் தெரியும். ரொம்ப காலமாக ஓடிட்டுருக்கு. இதுக்கு ஒரு முடிவே கிடையாதா சார் அப்படின்ற மாதிரி போகிறது. இது ஒரு கிறுக்குத்தனமான ஒரு ஐடியா யோசிச்சுருக்கேன். இப்போது என்னென்னா, இப்போது வரைக்கும் போன சாப்டர் வரைக்கும் ஒன் பீஸில் வந்து 1072 சாப்டர்ஸ் அட் த டைம் ஆஃப் ரெக்கார்டிங் திஸ் வீடியோ. 1072 சாப்டர்ஸ் ரிலீஸ் ஆகிருக்கு. 1072 ஆக்சுவலாக. ஸோ இப்போது இந்த 1072 சாப்டர்ஸையும் டைட்டிலாவது ஒரு வீடியோ ஃபுல்லாக படிக்கணும் அப்படின்றது தான் இந்த சேலஞ்ச். 1072 சாப்டர் பேர் படிக்கணும். இப்போது இந்த ஐடியா எதுக்கு நான் யோசிச்சேன்னு எனக்கு தெரில, ஆனால் பண்ணி பார்ப்போமே அப்படின்றப்ப தான். ஸோ ஸ்டார்டிங் வித் இது ஒன் பீஸோட விக்கிபீடியா பேஜ் ஆரம்பிப்போமா? Chapter 1, Romance Dawn. Chapter 2, They Call Him Straw Hat Luffy. Chapter 3, Enter Zoro Pirate Hunter. Chapter 4, The Great Captain Morgan. Chapter 5, The King of the Pirates and the Master Swordsman. Chapter 6, Number 1. Chapter 7, Friends. Chapter 8, Nami. Chapter 9, Femme Fatale. Chapter 10, Incident at the Tavern. Chapter 11, Flight. Chapter 12, Dog. Chapter 13, Treasure. Chapter 14, Reckless. Chapter 15, Gong. Chapter 16, versus Buggy's Crew. Chapter 17, High Level, Low Level. Chapter 18, The Pirate Buggy the Clown. Chapter 19, Devil Fruit. Chapter 20, The Way of the Thief. Chapter 21, Townies. Chapter 22, Strange Creature. Chapter 23, The Dread Captain Usopp. Chapter 24, The Lie Rejector. Chapter 25, Lies. Chapter 26, Captain Kuro's Plan. Chapter 27, True Lies. Chapter 28, Crescent Moon. Chapter 29, Uphill Battle. Chapter 30, Backfire. Chapter 31, Truth. Chapter 32, Cruel Fortune. Chapter 33, The Creeping Cat. Chapter 34, Humble Servant. Chapter 35, The Steep Slope. Chapter 36, After Them. Chapter 37, Captain Kuro of the Thousand Planets. Chapter 38, Pirate Crew. Chapter 39, For Whom the Bell Tolls. Chapter 40, Usopp's Pirate Crew. Chapter 41, To the Sea. Chapter 42, Yosaku the Johnny. Chapter 43, Sanji. Chapter 44, Three Tough Cooks. Chapter 45, Before the Storm. Chapter 46, An uninvited guest. Chapter 47, The Dawn's Offer. Chapter 48, Steer Clear. Chapter 49, Storm. Chapter 50, A Parting of Ways. Chapter 51, Zoro Overboard. Chapter 52, The Oath. Chapter 53, Mackerel Head. Chapter 54, Pearl. Chapter 55, Jungle Blood. Chapter 56, I Refuse. Chapter 57, If You Have a Dream. Chapter 58, Crab Geezer. Chapter 59, Sanji's Debt. Chapter 60, Resolution. Chapter 61, The Demon. Chapter 62, MH5. Chapter 63, I Won't Die. Chapter 64, The Mighty Battle Spear. Chapter 65, Prepared. Chapter 66, The Chewed Up Spear. Chapter 67, The Soup. Chapter 68, The Fourth Person. Chapter 69, Arlong Park. Chapter 70, The Great Adventure of Usopp the Man. Chapter 71, Lords of All Creation. Chapter 72, Proper Living. Chapter 73, Monster of the Grand Line. Chapter 74, Business. Chapter 75, Off Maps and Fishmen. Chapter 76, Sleep. Chapter 77, The First Step Towards a Dream. Chapter 78, Bellamere. Chapter 79, To Live. Chapter 80, A Thief is a Thief. Chapter 81, Tears. Chapter 82, Okay, Let's Stand Up. Chapter 83, Luffy's Black. Luffy in Black. Luffy in Black. Chapter 84, Zombie. Chapter 85, Three Swords vs 6. Chapter 86, Heroism vs Fishman Cruelty. Chapter 87, It's All Over. Chapter 88, Die. Chapter 89, Trade-Off. Chapter 90, What Can You Do? Chapter 91, Darts. Chapter 92, Happiness. Chapter 93, Going Down. Chapter 94, The Other Villain. Chapter 95, Spin Pinwheel. Chapter 96, The Meanest Man in the East, Chapter 97, Kitetsu 3, Chapter 98, Dark Clouds, Chapter 99, Luffy Died, Chapter 100, The Legend Begins, Chapter 101, The Reverse Mountain, Chapter 102, And Now the Grand Line, Chapter 103, The Whale, Chapter 104, Cape Promise, Chapter 105, Log Post, Chapter 106, The Town of Welcome, Chapter 107, Moonlight and Tombstones, Chapter 108, 100 Bounty Hunters, Chapter 109, A Question of Duty, Chapter 110, The Night Isn't Over, Chapter 111, The Secret Criminal Organization, Chapter 112, Luffy vs. Zoro, Chapter 113, It's Alright, Chapter 114, The Course, Chapter 115, Little Garden of Adventure, Chapter 116, Big, Chapter 117, Dory and Broggy, Chapter 118, Someone's Out There, Chapter 119, Deadly Provision, Chapter 120, The Red Orb Weeps, Chapter 121, I Knew, Chapter 122, A Dead Body is Useless, Chapter 123, Luffy vs. Mr. 3, Chapter 124, The Tea is Good, Chapter 125, Candle Champion, Chapter 126, Instinct, Chapter 127, Snailophone, Chapter 128, Pirate Pride, Chapter 129, Straight Ahead, Chapter 130, Maximum Speed, Chapter 131, Warp of Tin, Chapter 132, Sea, Chapter 133, Adventure in a Nameless Country, Chapter 134, Dr. Kureha, Chapter 135, Lapins, Chapter 136, A Man Named Dalton, Chapter 137, Avalanche, Chapter 138, The Summit, Chapter 139, Entry Tony Chopper, Chapter 140, The Castle of Snow, Chapter 141, Quack Doctor, Chapter 142, Skull and Cherry Blossoms, Chapter 143, Clumsy, Chapter 144, Snowy Tail, Chapter 145, Carrying on His Will, Chapter 146, Battle to Defend the Kingdom, Chapter 147, Frauds, Chapter 148, Unbreakable, Chapter 149, Rumble, Chapter 150, Royal Drum Crown 7-shot Tin Tyrant Cannon, Chapter 151, The Skies of Drum, Chapter 152, The Full Moon, Chapter 153, Here Looks Cherry Blossom, Chapter 154, To Alabasta, Chapter 155, Sir Crocodile the Pirate, Chapter 156, Oh Come My Way Days, Chapter 157, Ace Arrives, Chapter 158, Landing in Alabasta, Chapter 159, Come On, Chapter 160, Spider's Cafe at 8 o'clock, Chapter 161, The Green City, Yerumalu, Chapter 162, Adventure in the Kingdom of Sand, Chapter 163, Yuba, the Town of Rebels, Chapter 164, I Love My Country, Chapter 165, Operation Utopia, Chapter 166, Luffy vs. Vivi, Chapter 167, Battlefront, Chapter 168, Rain Base, The City of Dreams, Chapter 169, The Kingdom's Strongest Warrior, Chapter 170, Beginning, Chapter 171, Koza, Leader of the Rebels, Chapter 172, Rebellion, Chapter 173, Banangator, Chapter 174, Mr. Prince, Chapter 175, Release, Chapter 176, Rush, Chapter 177, 30 million vs 81 million, Chapter 178, Grand Line Level, Chapter 179, Showdown at Alubarna, Chapter 180, Alabasta Animal Land, Chapter 181, Supersonic Duck Quiz, Chapter 182, Roar, Chapter 183, Squadron Leader Karu, Chapter 184, Moletown Block 4, என்னடா பேர் வைக்கிறீங்க, Moletown Block 4, Chapter 185, Oh Is That So, Chapter 184, 4. இப்போ தான் ஒரு பேஜ் முடிச்சிருக்கோம். Chapter 187, Stalemate, Chapter 188, Oh Come My Way Karate, Chapter 189, 2, Chapter 190, Climate Pattern, Chapter 191, She Who Controls the Weather, Chapter 192, Tornado Warning, Chapter 193, Utopia, Chapter 194, Cutting Steel, Chapter 195, Mr. Bushido, Chapter 196 1. Chapter 197 The Leaders. Chapter 198 4:15 p.m. Chapter 199 Hope. Chapter 200 Waterloo Fee. இப்போ தான் 200 வந்திருக்கேன். மட்டமான ஐடியாலாம் வீடியோவாக பண்ணால் இப்படி தான். Chapter 201 Nico Robin. Chapter 202 The Royal Mausoleum. Chapter 203 Crocodilish. Chapter 204 Red. Chapter 205 The San Band Secret Fort. Chapter 206 Ignition. Chapter 209 Nightmare. Chapter 208 Guardian Spirit. Chapter 209 I Will Defeat You. Chapter 210 Zero. Chapter 211 King. Chapter 212 Some Justice. Chapter 213 VIP. Chapter 214 Strategy to Escape the Sand Kingdom. Chapter 215 Last Waltz. Chapter 215 BB's Adventure. Chapter 217 Stowaway. Chapter 218 Why the Lock Post is Dome-Shaped. 209. Chapter 219 Masira the Salvage King. Chapter 220 A Walk on the Seafloor. Chapter 221 Monsters. Chapter 222 The Giant Novice. Chapter 223 I Promise Never to Fight in This Town. Chapter 224 Do Not Dream. Chapter 225 People's Dream. Chapter 226 Shoujo the Salvage King of the Seafloor. Chapter 227 Nolan the Liar. Chapter 228 Mont Blanc Cricket, the last boss of the Monkey Mountain Allied Force. Chapter 229 Let's Eat. Chapter 230 Pursue the South Bird. Chapter 231 Bellamy the Hyena. Chapter 230 The 100 Million Berry Man. Chapter 233 The World's Greatest Power. Chapter 234 Please Remember. Chapter 235 The Knock-Up Stream. Chapter 236 The Ship Sails to the Sky. Chapter 237 High in the Sky. Chapter 238 Heaven's Gate. Chapter 239 Angel Beach. Chapter 240 Dial Power. Chapter 241 Heaven's Judgment. Chapter 242 Class 2 Criminals. Chapter 243 Trials. Chapter 244 SOS. Chapter 245 Adventure of Kami's Island. Oh, SOS வந்திருக்கா 244. Chapter 246 Satori Vessel of the Forest of No Return. Chapter 247 Ball Challenge. 248 Farmer Kami vs. Vessel. Chapter 249 The Village Hidden in the Cloud. The Naruto reference. Chapter 250 Ball Dragon. Chapter 251 Overture. Chapter 252 Junction. Chapter 253 Wars. Chapter 254 Obed. Chapter 255 The Anaconda and the Search Team. Chapter 256 Viper the Berserker. Chapter 257 Dial Battle. Chapter 258 The Many Souths. Chapter 259 Pirate Zoro vs. Warrior Abraham. Chapter 260 Pirate Luffy vs. Berserker Viper. Chapter 261 Warrior Genbo vs. Heavenly Warriors Commander Yama. Chapter 262 Pirate Chopper vs. Vassal Gadetsu. Chapter 263 Pirate Nami and the Weird Knight vs. Heavenly Warriors Sub-Commanders Hotori and Kotori. Chapter 264 Warrior Kamakiri vs. Kami Enru. Chapter 265 Pirate Robin vs. Heavenly Forces Commander Yama. Pirate 266 Pirate Chopper vs. Vassal Om. Chapter 267 March. Chapter 268 Suit. Chapter 269 Concerto. Chapter 270 Serenade. Chapter 271 Pirate Zoro vs. Vassal Om. Chapter 272 Play. Chapter 273 Quintet. Chapter 274 Oratorio. Chapter 275 Divina Commandia. Chapter 276 Shandian Rhythm. Chapter 277 Maxim. Chapter 278 Conis. Chapter 279 Pirate Luffy vs. Kami Enaru. Chapter 280 Floating. Chapter 281 Death Pia. Chapter 288 Desire. Chapter 283 On the Front Line of Rescuing Love. Chapter 284 Sorry. Chapter 285 Capriccio. Chapter 286 The Shandorian Demon. Chapter 287 Kami Killing. Chapter 288 Curse. Chapter 289 Full Moon. Chapter 290 The Light of Shandora. Chapter 291 Will Be Here. Chapter 292 To Meet Like the Half Moon Hidden by Clouds. Chapter 293 Bolero the Car Pellar. Chapter 294 Kingdom Come. Chapter 295 Giant Jack. Chapter 296 Ultimate Sky Situation. Chapter 297 Praise of the Earth. Chapter 298 Love Song. Chapter 299 Fantasia. Chapter 300 Symphony. Chapter 301 I Hereby Guide. Chapter 302 Finale. Chapter 303 The Wealthy Pirate Gang. Chapter 304 Long Island Adventure. Chapter 305 Foxy the Silver Fox. அது ஒரு ஃபில்லராக இருக்குது. இந்த சில்வர் ஃபாக்ஸியாக இருக்குது. டேவி பேக் ஃபைட் அதான் ஃபில்லர் தான். Chapter 306 Donut Race. Chapter 307 Ready Set Donut. Chapter 308 Obstructive Tactics. Chapter 309 Groggy Monsters. Chapter 310 Groggy Ring. Chapter 311 Rough Game. Chapter 312 Goal. Chapter 313 Main Event. Chapter 314 Combat. Chapter 315 Secret Room. Chapter 316 Brother Soul. Chapter 317 KO. Chapter 318 Closure. Chapter 319 Admiral Hawkins of the Navy Headquarters. Chapter 320 Ultimate Military Force. Chapter 321 One-on-One. Chapter 322 Puffing Tom. Chapter 323 The City of Water, Water 7. Chapter 324 Adventures in the City of Water. Chapter 325 The Frankie Family. Chapter 326 Mr. Iceberg. Chapter 327 Shipbuilding Island Repair Dock Number 1. Chapter 328 The Pirate Abduction Incident. Chapter 329 My Name is Frankie. Chapter 330 I Decided. Chapter 331 The Big Argument. Chapter 332 Luffy vs. Usopp. Chapter 333 Captain. Chapter 334 Big Trouble in the Secret Room. Chapter 335 Warning. Chapter 336 Luffy vs. Frankie. Chapter 337 Protectors of the City Water. Chapter 338 Coup Event. Chapter 339 Rumors. Chapter 340 The Woman Who Brings Darkness. Chapter 341 Demon. Chapter 342 The Messengers of Darkness. Chapter 343 Cypher 4 number 9. Chapter 344 Opposing Force. Chapter 345 Sleepers. Chapter 346 The Ninth Justice. Chapter 347 Six Powers. Chapter 348 Fighting Power. Chapter 349 Ordinary Citizens. Chapter 350 The Warehouse Under the Bridge. Chapter 351 Clawbatter Man. Chapter 352 Tom's Workers. Chapter 353 The Legendary Shipwright. Chapter 354 Sea Train. Chapter 355 Spandam. Chapter 356 Mr. Tom. Chapter 357 Cutty Flam. Chapter 358 Reactivation. Chapter 359 Bingo. Chapter 360 Departing Soon. Chapter 361 PS. Chapter 362 Ebb Tide. Chapter 363 Aqua Laguna. Chapter 364 Kokoro. Chapter 365 Rocketman. Chapter 366 Sortie. Chapter 367 Sniper King. Chapter 368 Sea Train Battalion. Chapter 369 Ramen Kung Fu. Chapter 370 You're Not Alone. Chapter 371 The Honorable Captain T-Bone. Chapter 372 Plastic Surgery. Chapter 373 Necessary Evil. Chapter 374 Scramble. Chapter 375 The Supermen of Ennis Lobby. Chapter 376 I Got It. Chapter 377 The Big Showdown of the Judiciary Island. Chapter 378 Casualties. Chapter 379 Power Level. Chapter 380 Ennis Lobby Main Island Express. Chapter 381 Fired. Chapter 382 Demon Lair. Chapter 383 Luffy vs. Blueno. Chapter 384 Signal the Counterattack. Chapter 385 There is a Way. Chapter 386 Unprecedented. Chapter 387 Gear. Chapter 388 Gear 2. ரெண்டாவது பேஜ் இப்போ தான் முடிக்கிறோம். Nice. Chapter 389 Response. Chapter 390 Accepting the Challenge. Chapter 391 The Girl They Called a Demon. Chapter 392 There is She. Chapter 393 Olivia. Chapter 394 The Demons of O'Hara. Chapter 395 O'Hara vs. the World Government. Chapter 396 Saul. Chapter 397 In Hopes of Reaching the Future. Chapter 398 Declaration of War. Chapter 399 Jump Towards the Waterfall. Chapter 400 வந்துட்டோம் கைஸ். ஆனால் என்ன பாதி கூட வரல, தொண்டை காஞ்சிடுச்சு, தண்ணி குடிக்காமல் முடியும், அதுதான் சேலஞ்ச். 400 Chapter 400 The Key to Freedom. Chapter 401 Pirates vs. CP9. Chapter 402 Handcuffs number 2. Chapter 403 Mr. Chivalry. Chapter 404 Frankie vs. Fukuro. Chapter 405 Power. Chapter 406 Life Return. Chapter 407 Monster. Chapter 408 Monster vs. Kumadori. Chapter 409 The Terrifying Broadcast. Chapter 410 Super Size Nami. Chapter 411 Nami vs. Khalifa. Chapter 412 You Missed Your Chance. Chapter 413 Hunter. Chapter 414 Sanji vs. Jabra. Chapter 415 Heat Up. Chapter 416 Zoro vs. Kaku. Chapter 417 Asura. Chapter 418 Luffy vs. Rob Lucci. Chapter 419 Legend of a Hero. Chapter 420 Buster Call. Chapter 421 Gear 3. Chapter 422 Rob Lucci. Chapter 423 Mermaid Island. Chapter 424 Escape Ship. Chapter 425 Bridge of Mortal Kombat. Chapter 426 A Ship Waiting for Wind. Chapter 427 This Isn't the Afterlife. Chapter 428 Let's Go Back. Chapter 429 Utter Defeat. Chapter 430 Lights Know of Reminiscence Falls. Chapter 431 Fist of Love. Chapter 432 Jack in the Box. Chapter 433 The Name of That Sea. Chapter 434 White Beard and Red Hair. Mass scene is it. Chapter 435 You Have My Sympathies. Chapter 436 Trunks from Frankie House. Chapter 437 Naked Mania. Chapter 438 Pride. Chapter 439 Third and Seventh. Chapter 440 Fire Fist vs. Blackbeard. Chapter 441 Duel on Banaro Island. Chapter 442 Adventure in the Demonic Sea. Chapter 443 Thriller Bark. Chapter 444 Adventure in the Ghost Island. Chapter 445 Zombies. Chapter 446 Dr. Hawkback. Chapter 447 Zombie in the Box. Chapter 448 Moria. Chapter 449 The Four Monsters of Thriller Bark. Chapter 450 Night of the Jungle Zombies. Chapter 451 Peruna's Wonder Garden. Chapter 452 Jigoro of the Wind. Chapter 453 Cloudy, Partly Bonnie. Chapter 454 The Humming Swordsman. Chapter 455 Gecko Moria of the Seven Warlords of the Sea. Chapter 456 Demon from the Land of Ice. Chapter 457 Meat. Chapter 458 Anything But My Hero. Chapter 459 I Can't Just Die Hoping to Be Forgiven. Chapter 460 Conquest Before Dawn. Chapter 461 Ghostbuster. Chapter 462 Adventures of Ohara. Adventures of Ors. Chapter 463 Pirate Sanji vs. Mystery Man Absalom. Chapter 464 Sanji's Dream. Chapter 465 Pirate Usopp vs. Mystery Woman Perona. Chapter 466 Conclusion. Chapter 467 Pirate Zoro vs. Samurai Ryuma. Chapter 468 Pirate Chopper vs. Mystery Man Hawkback. Chapter 469 Come Out Here Straw Hat Pirates. Chapter 470 O's vs. Straw Hat Pirates. 471 My Friend. Chapter 472 Down. Chapter 473 Warlord Bartholomew Kuma appears. Chapter 474 We Have to Do It. Chapter 475 Pirates of the Forest. Chapter 477 Nightmare Luffy. Chapter 477 3/8 அது ஏதோ கரப்ட் ஆயிடுச்சு. Chapter 478 Luffy vs. Luffy. Chapter 479 Warrior of Hope. Chapter 480 Interception. Chapter 481 Shadows Asgard. Chapter 482 Morning is Coming. Chapter 483 The End of the Dream. Chapter 484 Squish. Chapter 485 Straw Hat Pirates Pirate Hunter Zoro. Chapter 486 Piano. Chapter 487 That Song. Chapter 488 Song of Life. Chapter 489 Eighth Person. Chapter 490 Arriving Again. Chapter 491 Flying Fish Riders. Chapter 492 Iron Mask Duel. Chapter 493 You Know Me. Chapter 494 Duel's Tragedy. Chapter 495 Gown Cannon. Chapter 496 Yarukiman Mangrove. Chapter 497 Adventure of the Archipelago of Dancing Soap Bubbles. Chapter 498 The 11 Supernovas. Chapter 499 Sabori Park. Chapter 500 The Embers of History. Chapter 501 The World Begins to Swell. Chapter 502 The Incident of the Celestial Dragons. Chapter 503 Aggravated Island. Chapter 504 Pirate Frontline in the Move. Chapter 505 Kuma. Chapter 506 Roger and Rayleigh. Chapter 507 Kizaru Arrives. Chapter 508 Island of Carnage. Chapter 509 Kizaru vs. 4 Captains. Chapter 510 Straw Hat Pirates vs. War Machine. Chapter 511 Ox Carrying Sentomaru. Chapter 512 Zoro Gone. Chapter 513 Beyond Rescue. Chapter 514 Body Parasite Mushrooms. Chapter 515 Adventure of the Island of Women. Chapter 516 Pirate Emperor's Boa Hancock. Chapter 517 Bath Time, Chapter 518 Colosseum, Chapter 519 Natural Born King, Chapter 520 Eye of the Gorgon, Chapter 521 Hoof of the Celestial Dragon, Chapter 522 Fatal Illness, Chapter 523 Hell, Chapter 524 Unstoppable, Chapter 523 The Underwater Prison Impel Down, Chapter 526 Adventure of the Great Prison, Chapter 527 Level 1 Crimson Hell, Chapter 528 Jinbei First Son of the Sea, Chapter 529 Level 2 Beast Hell, Chapter 530 From One Hell to Another, Chapter 531 Level 3 Starvation Hell, Chapter 532 Jailous Beast Minotaur, Chapter 533 Level 4 Inferno Hell, Chapter 534 Warden Magellan vs Pirate Luffy, 535 Friend, Chapter 536 Level 5 Frozen Hell, Chapter 537 Ray of Hope, Chapter 538 Level 5 Level 5.5 New Kama Land, Chapter 539 Emporio Energy Synthesis, Chapter 540 Level 6 Infinite Hell, Chapter 551 The Greatest Ever, Chapter 542 Yet Another Epic Incident, Chapter 543 Stoyat and Blackbeard, Chapter 544 The Lid to the Cauldron of Hell opens, Chapter 550 545 The Sunshine and Freedom, Chapter 546 Fishman Pirate Captain Jinbei Warlord of the Sea, Chapter 547 Island Rippers, Chapter 548 Thank You, Chapter 549 Battleship, Chapter 550 Navy Headquarters, Chapter 551 Whitebeard of the Four Emperors, Chapter 552 Ace and Whitebeard, Chapter 553 Summit Battle, Chapter 554 Admiral Akainu, Chapter 555 Oars on the Hat, Chapter 556 Justice Will Prevail, Chapter 557 Luffy and Whitebeard, Chapter 558 Little Brother, Chapter 559 Destiny, Chapter 560 Prisoner of Impel Down, Chapter 561 Luffy vs Mihawk, Chapter 562 World Spider Squad, Will Spider Squad, Chapter 563 One Man, One Heart, Chapter 564 The Man Who Shook the World, Chapter 565 War's Path, Chapter 566 Raid, Chapter 567 Marineford Navy Headquarters Oris Plaza, Chapter 568 Have It Your Way, Chapter 569 White Monster, Chapter 570 The Bridge of Life, Chapter 571 The Execution Platform, Chapter 572 The Times They Are Changing, Changin, The Times They Are Changin. Okay, 573 The Name of This Era is Whitebeard. Chapter 574 The Death of Podcast Yes, Massive File Radi. Chapter Pere 575 Voices Rage, Chapter 576 The Great Pirate Edward Newgate, Chapter 577 Outrageous Event One After Another, Chapter 578 A Gift, Chapter 577 Outrageous Event One After Another, Chapter 578 A Gift, Chapter 579 A Few Seconds of Courage, Chapter 580 The War's Conclusion, Chapter 581 Creeping Futures, Chapter 582 Luffy and Ace, Chapter 583 Great Terminal, Chapter 584 Incident with Porkimi, Chapter 585 Brotherly Pact, Chapter 586 City of Stench, Chapter 587 I Will Never Run Away, Chapter 588 Sabo's Ocean, Chapter 589 Efforts Towards Glory, Chapter 590 My Brother, Chapter 591 Are You Sure That's Alright, Chapter 592 Yell, Chapter 593 News, Chapter 594 Message. மூணாவது பேஜ். Chapter 595 The Pledge, Chapter 596 Spectrum, Chapter 597 3D2Y, Chapter 598 2 Years Later, Time skip over. Chapter 599 9 Pirates, Chapter 600 Island of New Beginnings, Chapter 601 Romance Dawn for the New World, Chapter 598 2 Years Later எல்லாம் படித்தாச்சு. Chapter 601 Romance, Chapter 602 Downward Ho, Chapter 603 Keep That in Mind, Chapter 604 To the Deep Sea, Chapter 605 The Kraken and the Pirates, Chapter 606 Deep Sea Adventure, Chapter 607 30,000 Feet Under the Sea, Chapter 608 Underwater Paradise, Chapter 609 Adventure on Fishman Island, Chapter 610 Madam Charlie Fortune Teller, Chapter 610 Hody Jones, Chapter 612 Taken by the Shark They Saved, Chapter 613 Mermaid Princess of Shell Tower, Chapter 614 Too Late Now, Chapter 615 Mark Markers, Chapter 616 Anniversary of Revenge, Chapter 617 Incident at Coral Hill. Chapter 618 Proposal. Chapter 619 At the Forest of the Sea. Chapter 620 The Wonderful Amusement Park. Chapter 621 Otohime and Tiger. Chapter 622 The Sun Pirates. Chapter 623 Fisher Tiger and the Pirate. Chapter 624 Queen Otohime. Chapter 624 Queen Otohime. Chapter 625 Uninherited Will. Chapter 626 Neptune Brothers. Chapter 627 Thank You. Chapter 628 Spring Cleaning. Chapter 629 Farmer Warlord in the Way. Chapter 630 Getting Violent. Chapter 631 Concord Plaza. Chapter 632 I Knew. Chapter 633 Friend or Foe. Chapter 634 100,000 vs 10. Chapter 635 So Scary I Ran Up to the Sky. Chapter 636 General from the Future Land. Chapter 637 The Ancient Ark. Chapter 638 Runaway Hoshi. Chapter 639 I'll Protect Everything. Chapter 640 Right Above Fishman Island. Chapter 641 What Are You. Chapter 642 Complete Loss of Face. Chapter 643 Phantom. Chapter 644 to Zero. Chapter 645 Death is Also Revenge. Chapter 646 Frog. Chapter 647 Stop Noah. Chapter 648 The Road Towards the Sun. Chapter 649 Dancing of Beams and Places. Chapter 650 Two Changes to Keep in Mind. Chapter 651 The Voice from the New World. Chapter 652 A Premonition of Stormy Seas. Chapter 653 The Hero Hat. Chapter 654 A Gam of Whales. Chapter 655 Punk Hazard. Chapter 656 Adventure on the Burning Island. Chapter 657 Severed Head. Chapter 658 The Biscuits Room. Chapter 659 About My Torso. Chapter 660 Trafalgar Law Warlord of the Sea. Chapter 661 Lakeside Bandits. Chapter 662 Warlord Law vs Vice Admiral Smoker. Chapter 663 CC. Chapter 664 Master Caesar Clown. Chapter 665 Candy. Chapter 666 Yeti Cool Brothers. Chapter 667 Cool Fight. Chapter 666 Pirate Alliance. Chapter 669 Commence Operation. Chapter 670 Blizzard with a Chance of Slime. Chapter 671 Gas Fruit. Chapter 672 My Name is Kiemon. Chapter 673 Virgo and Joker. Chapter 674 The Observers. Chapter 675 I Call It Land of the Dead. Chapter 676 The Perfect Weapon of Mass Murder. Chapter 677 Counter Hazard. Chapter 678 Lobby of Laboratory Building A. Chapter 679 The G5 Spirit. Chapter 680 G5 Commander Virgo the Bamboo Demon. Chapter 681 Luffy vs Master. Chapter 682 Puppet Master. Chapter 683 An Icy Woman. Chapter 684 Don't Do It Vegapunk. Chapter 685 My Name is Momonosuke. Chapter 686 The Snow Woman in the Biscuit Room. Chapter 687 Wild Beast. Chapter 688 Mocha. Chapter 689 The Island That's There But Isn't There. Chapter 690 SAD Sad. Chapter 691 King of the Land of the Dead. Chapter 692 Assassins from Dressrosa. Chapter 693 Die for Me. Chapter 694 The Most Dangerous Man. Chapter 695 Leave It to Us. Chapter 696 Mutual Interest. Chapter 697 Deal. Chapter 698 Doflamingo Appears. Chapter 699 Morning Paper. Chapter 700 is Face. Chapter 701 Adventure in the Country of Love, Passion and Toys. Chapter 702 Corrida Colosseum. Chapter 703 Waiting Room. Chapter 704 Lucy and the Statue of Kairos. Chapter 705 Maynard the Pursuer. Chapter 706 I Ain't Gonna Laugh at Ya. Chapter 707 Block B. Chapter 708 Coliseum of Scoundrels. Chapter 709 King Punch. Chapter 710 The Green Bit. Chapter 711 Adventure in the Land of the Little People. Chapter 712 Violet. Chapter 713 Musoland. Chapter 714 Lucy and Moosey. Chapter 715 The Battleground of Block C. Chapter 716 Don Chinchao. Chapter 717 Dressrosa's Forgotten. Chapter 718 Riku Royal Army at the Flower Field. Chapter 719 Open Chinchao. Chapter 720 Prisoner Gladiators. Chapter 721 Rebecca and the Soldier. Chapter 722 Royal Bloodlines. Chapter 723 Change of Plans. Chapter 724 Lost Plan. Chapter 725 The Undefeated Woman. Chapter 726 The Riku Family. Chapter 727 The Hero's Ambush. Chapter 728 The Number of Tragedies. Chapter 729 Warlord Doflamingo vs Warlord Law. Chapter 733 Cards. Chapter 731 Operation Dressrosa SOP. Chapter 732 An Underground World. Chapter 733 What the Soldiers Want, Chapter 734, The Slicing Winds of Rommel, Chapter 735, Fujitora's Plan, Chapter 736, Supreme Officer Diamante, Chapter 737, Office Tower, Chapter 732, Troubles Army Special Officer Sugar, Chapter 739, Captain, Chapter 740, It's in Your Hands, Chapter 741, Usolando the Liar, Chapter 742, Ever at Your Side, Chapter 743, Dressrosa Trembles, Chapter 744, Revolutionary Army Chief of Staff, Chapter 745, The Bird Cage, Chapter 746, Stars, Chapter 747, Supreme Officer Pika, Chapter 748, Repaying the Debt, Chapter 749, Onward Gallery of Rogues, Chapter 750, Flashpoints, Chapter 751, Sauber vs. Admiral Fujitora, Chapter 752, Palm, Chapter 753, Battle, Chapter 754, Making Acquaintance, Chapter 755, A Man's World, Chapter 756, The Fourth Step, Chapter 757, Trump Card, Chapter 758, Just Keep Going, Chapter 759, Secret Plan, Chapter 760, The Same Bet, Chapter 761, The Op Fruit, Chapter 762, The White Town, Chapter 763, Declaration of Humanity, Chapter 764, White Monster, Chapter 765, Minion, The Isle of Fate, Chapter 770, 766, Smile, Chapter 767, Korra, Chapter 768, The Trigger That Day, Chapter 769, Bellamy the Pirate, Chapter 770, The Spear of Elbaf, Chapter 771, Sai, Dawn of the Opposite Army, Chapter 772, Cabbage and Lomeo, Chapter 777, Half and Half, Chapter 774, Leo, Captain of the Tontatan Warriors, Chapter 775, the Russian with Love, Chapter 776, The Hero of Colosseum, Chapter 777, Zoro vs. Pika, 778, Tactics Number 5, Chapter 779, His Final Battle, Chapter 780, The Hard Curse, Chapter 781, Desire, Chapter 782, Champion of Evil, Chapter 783, In My Way, Chapter 784, Gear 4, Chapter 795, On Broken Legs, Chapter 786, Gyats, Chapter 787, 4 Minutes Before, Chapter 788, My Battle, Chapter 789, Lucy, Chapter 790, Heaven and Earth, Chapter 791, Rubble, Chapter 792, On Hands and Knees, Chapter 793, Tiger and Dog, Chapter 794, Sabo's Adventure, Chapter 795, Suicide, Chapter 786, Soldier's Conviction, Chapter 797, Rebecca, Chapter 798, Heart, Chapter 799, Father and Sons, Chapter 800, Sons Cups, Chapter 801, Opening Speech, Chapter 802, Zoo, Chapter 803, Elephant Climbing, Chapter 804, Adventure in the Land, atop the elephant's back, Chapter 805, The Minx, Chapter 806, At Right Flank Fortress. Kadavule. Chapter 807, 10 days earlier, Chapter 808, Dogstorm, Chapter 809, The Cat Viper, Chapter 810, The Twirly Hat Crew Arrives, Chapter 811, Rocco, Chapter 812, Capon Gang Bedge, Chapter 813, Tea Party Invitation, Chapter 814, Let's Go See Cat Viper, See the Cat Viper, Chapter 815, Take Me With You, Chapter 816, Dog vs. Cat, Chapter 817, Rise of the Mist, Chapter 818, Inside the Whale, Chapter 819, Momonosuke, Heir to the Kozuki Clan, Chapter 820, Cats and Dogs Have a History, Chapter 821, Understood, Chapter 822, Descending the Elephant, Chapter 823, The World is Restless, Chapter 824, Playing Pirates, Chapter 825, Comic Strip, Chapter 826, 0 and 4, Chapter 827, Totoland, Chapter 828, 1 and 2, Chapter 829, Emperor of the Sea, Charlotte Lenlen, Chapter 830, A Man You Can Bet On, Chapter 831, Adventure in the Mysterious Forest, Chapter 823, Kingdom of Germa, Chapter 833, Windsmoke Judge, Chapter 833, My Dream, Chapter 835, Kingdom of Soul, Chapter 836, Lola's Weaver Card, Chapter 835, Luffy vs. Cracker the General, Chapter 838, Chobro, Chapter 839, I Owe You My Life, Chapter 840, The Iron Mask, Chapter 841, To the East Blue, Chapter 842, The Power of a Full Stomach, Chapter 843, Windsmoke Sanji, Chapter 844, Luffy vs. Sanji, Chapter 845, Forces of Rage, Chapter 846, Tamago Security, Chapter 847, Luffy and Big Mom, Chapter 848, Goodbye, Chapter 849, Chobro is the Land of Mirrors, Chapter 850, Array of Light, Chapter 851, Dog End, Chapter 852, Germa's Failure, Chapter 853, Not Here, Chapter 854, What Are You Doing? Chapter 855, Glurgle, Chapter 856 Liar, Chapter 857 Rook, Chapter 858 Meeting, Chapter 859 Emperor Assassination Plan, Chapter 860 10 a.m. Start, Chapter 861 The Actor, Chapter 862 The Thinker, Chapter 863 The Night, Chapter 864 The Windsmoke Massacre Plot, Chapter 865 Hey Mother, Chapter 866 Natural Born Destroyer, Chapter 867 Happy Birthday, Chapter 868 KX Launcher, Chapter 869 Castling, Chapter 870 Parting, Chapter 871 You Can Do It Caesar, Chapter 872 Thick and Fluffy, Chapter 873 Recipe of Disaster, Chapter 874 Be My Servant, Chapter 875 A Woman's Honor, Chapter 876 Pudding Pudding coincidental appears. Pudding coincidentally appears. Chapter 877 Bittersweet. Chapter 878 Commander Pedro of the Mink Guardians. Chapter 879 Big Mom Sweet 3 General Category. Chapter 880 Zero Escape. Chapter 881 Wave Room. Chapter 882 Beyond the Emperor's Expectations. Chapter 883 Merienda. Chapter 884 Who's That? Chapter 885 Burli. Chapter 886 Way of Life. Chapter 887 Someone Somewhere is Wishing for Your Happiness. Chapter 888 Lion. Chapter 889 Unfamiliar Mama. Chapter 890 Big Mom on the Ship. Chapter 891 They Believe in Me. Chapter 892 Threat Confirmed. Chapter 893 Flampe 36th the Daughter of Charlotte. Chapter 894 12-5. Chapter 895 Luffy the Pirate vs General Category. Chapter 896 One Last Thing. Chapter 897 Pekmos Casco Island Escape Plan. Pekmos Cacao Island Escape Plan. Chapter 898 I Will Return. Chapter 899 The Final Fortress. Chapter 900 Bad End Musical. Chapter 901 Don't Let Even Death Stop You. Chapter 902 End Roll. Chapter 903 Fifth Emperor. Chapter 904 Introducing the Revolutionary Army Captains. Chapter 905 What a Beautiful World. Chapter 906 Sacred Marijua. Chapter 907 The Empty Throne. Chapter 908 The Reverie Begins. Chapter 909 Seppuku. Chapter 910 Onwards to Wano. Chapter 911 Adventure in the Land of Samurai. 912 Amigasa Village. Chapter 913 The Crane Returns the Favor. Chapter 914 Okobore Town. Chapter 915 Bakura Town. Chapter 916 Wano Sumo. Chapter 917 The Food Treasure Ship. Chapter 918 Lufitaro Returns the Favor. Chapter 919 The Ruins of Oden's Castle. Chapter 920 For Love of Oden. Chapter 921 Shutenmaru. Chapter 922 Supreme Commander Kaido of the Animal Kingdom Pirates. Chapter 923 Emperor of the Sea Kaido vs Luffy. Chapter 824 Chapter 925 Absence. Chapter 926 Excavation Labor Camp. Chapter 927 Otoko the Kamuro. Chapter 928 Introducing Komurasaki the Oiran. Chapter 929 Wano Country Shogun Kurozumi Orochi. 930 Ebisu Town. Chapter 931 Soba Mask. Chapter 932 Shogun and Oiran. Chapter 933 A Warrior's Mercy. Chapter 934 Hyogoro the Flower. Chapter 935 Queen. Chapter 936 Sumo Inferno. Chapter 937 Bukenmaru on Bandit's Bridge. Chapter 938 A Woman's Secret. Chapter 939 The Old Leopard Never Forgets the Way. Chapter 940 Sparks of Rebellion. Chapter 941 The Star of Ebisu. Chapter 942 Daimyo of Hakumai Shimotsuki Yasue. Chapter 943 Smile. Chapter 944 Partner. Chapter 945 Olin. Chapter 946 Queen vs Olin. Chapter 947 Queen's Gamble. Chapter 948 Introducing Kawamatsu the Kappa. Chapter 949 Mummy. Chapter 950 A Soldier's Dream. Chapter 951 Rampage. Chapter 950 Hiyori and Kawamatsu. Chapter 953 Once a Fox. Chapter 954 Like a Dragon Given Wings. Chapter 955 Enma. Chapter 956 Big News. Chapter 957 Ultimate. Chapter 958 The Promised Port. Chapter 959 Samurai. Chapter 960 Introducing Kozuki Oden. Chapter 961 The Mountain God Incident. Chapter 962 Daimyo and Vassals. Chapter 963 Becoming Samurai. Chapter 964 Oden's Adventure. Chapter 965 The Kurozumi Clan's Plot. Chapter 966 Roger and Whitebeard. Chapter 967 Roger's Adventure. Chapter 968 Oden's Return. Chapter 969 Fool of a Lord. Chapter 970, Odin's Cairo. Chapter 971, Sentenced to Boil. Chapter 972, I am Odin and I was born to boil. Chapter 973, The Kosugi Clan. Chapter 974, Onward to Onigashima. Chapter 975, Kiyamon's Clever Trick. Chapter 976, Begging Your Pardon. Chapter 977, The Party's Off. Chapter 978, Introducing the Tobiroppo. Chapter 979, Family Problem. Chapter 980, Fighting Music. Chapter 981, Joining the Fight. Chapter 982, Scoundrel Meets Scoundrel. Chapter 983, Thunder. Chapter 984, My Bible. Chapter 986, New Onigashima Project. Chapter 986, My Name. Chapter 987, Vassals of Glory. Chapter 988, Sorry for the Wait. Chapter 989, I Can't Imagine Losing. Chapter 990, Army of One. Chapter 991, Let Us Die. Chapter 992, Remnants. Chapter 993, The Dream of Wano. Chapter 994, My Other Name is Yamato. Chapter 995, Kunoichi's Oath. Chapter 996, Island of the Strongest. Chapter 997, Flames. Chapter 998, Ancient Types. Chapter 999, The Sake I Brewed to Drink with You. Chapter 1000, Straw Hat Luffy. இன்டர்நெட்டை கன்வா பிரேக் பண்ணிச்சு. சாப்டர் 1000, எபிசோட் 1000 அதே மாதிரி தான். சாப்டர் 1001, பேட்டில் ஆஃப் மான்ஸ்டர்ஸ் ஆன் ஒனிகாஷிமா. சாப்டர் 1002, 4 Emperors vs New Generation. சாப்டர் 1003, Night on the Board. Chapter 1004, Millet Dumplings. Chapter 1005, Demon Child. Chapter 1006, The Honorable Hyogoro the Flower. Chapter 1007, Mr. Raccoon Dog. Chapter 1008, Leader of the Atamaya Thieves Brigade, Ashura Doji. Chapter 1009, Naraku. Chapter 1010, Color of the Supreme King. Chapter 1011, The Code of the Sweet Beans. Chapter 1012, Itch. Chapter 1013, Anarchy of the Big Mom. Anarchy in the Big Mom. Chapter 1014, The Ham. Chapter 1015, Chains. Chapter 1016, It's Me Otama. Chapter 1017, The Order. Chapter 1018, Jinbei vs. Who's Who. Chapter 1019, Heliceratops. Chapter 1020, Robin vs. Black Maria. Chapter 1021, Demonio. Chapter 1022, The Stars Take the Stage. Chapter 1023, Spitting Image. Chapter 1024, So and So. Chapter 1025, Twin Dragons. Chapter 1026, The Pivotal Clash. Chapter 1027, Danger Beyond Imagining. Chapter 1028, Brachiosnakes. Chapter 1029, The Tower. Chapter 1030, Echoing the Impermanence of All Things. Chapter 1031, Warrior of Science. Chapter 1032, Odin's Beloved Blade. Chapter 1033, Shimotsuki Kozuboro. Chapter 1034, Sanji vs. Queen. Chapter 1035, Zoro vs. King. Chapter 1036, Bushido in the Way of Death. Chapter 1037, Drunken Dragon Bagua. Chapter 1038, Kid and Law vs. Big Mom. Chapter 1039, Top Billing. Chapter 1040, Wasted Words on Young Years. Chapter 1041, Komurasaki. Chapter 1042, The Victor Needs No Epithet. Chapter 1043, Let's Face Death Together. Chapter 1044, Warrior of Liberation. Chapter 1045, Next Level. Chapter 1046, Raizo. Chapter 1047, The Sky Over the Capital. Chapter 1048, 20 Years. Chapter 1049, The World That Should Be. Chapter 1050, Honor. Chapter 1051, Shogun of Wano Kosugi Momonosuke. Chapter 1052, A New Morning. Chapter 1053, The New Emperors. The chapter 1054, Flame Emperor. 1055, The New Era. Chapter 1056, Cross Guild. Chapter 1057, The End. Chapter 1058, New Emperors. Chapter 1059, The Matter Involving Captain Kobe. Chapter 1060, Luffy's Dream. Chapter 1061, Future Island Egghead. Chapter 1062, Adventure in the Land of Science. Chapter 1063, My Only Family. Chapter 1064, Egghead Laboface. Chapter 1065, 6 Vegapunks. Chapter 1066, The Will of O'Hara. Chapter 1067, Punk Records. Chapter 1068, A Genius's Dream. Chapter 1069, All Things Are Brought into the World with Hope. Chapter 1070, The Strongest Form of Humanity. Chapter 1071, The Hero Deploys. Chapter 1072, The Weight of Memory. Chapter 1073, Miss Buckingham's Stussy. கைஸ் தொண்டை காஞ்சிச்சு பயங்கரமாக, பேச விட முடியல. முடிச்சிட்டேன் ஒரு வழியாக. 1073 சாப்டர்ஸ். இந்த ஒன் பீஸு அப்பா கடவுளே. நான் போயிட்டு கொஞ்சம் தண்ணி குடிச்சிட்டு வரேன். மற்றபடி இந்த வீடியோ பிடிச்சிருக்குன்னு நம்புகிறேன். தேங்க்யூ ஸோ மச். இன்னொரு எபிசோடில் மீட் பண்ணலாம். பை.